Let's do a G chromatic, 2 octaves. So we start here on this bass, 3rd finger, 3rd fret of the low E string. We do G, G sharp, we use the open A, we go all the way up, use the D, we're playing in 1st position. On the G string it's a little interesting, we get to the 3rd fret, B flat, we go to the open string B, and we stop on G, that's the top of the scale, and we return down to the G. Okay? Very good. I and M is fine. Indicio medial. It's absolutely fine. I'm going to use I and A, but just don't worry about that. That's just what I'm going to do. I don't use my middle finger so much. So index and middle for everyone that can do it. It depends on where you feel the strength is in your hand. Some people like to start with middle index, middle index. Some people like to start with index. I kind of feel that the middle is probably a very strong finger, so some people like to start with the middle quite a lot. But it's whatever way you've kind of learned that at the beginning. Okay, so let's try this scale. Starting on G. So after I want to hear everybody play it. So let's just try it all together. 1, 2. Okay, Douglas, right? I'm going to isolate everyone. Just try it on your own. Yeah, I mean overall it's pretty good, I mean I think where I would be concentrating on certain ideas with you certainly would be maybe the nails and the shape here, because I think there's a way we can achieve a nicer quality of sound in the right hand. Looking at the left hand though, you're keeping very close, which is good. There's maybe a little bit of tension across the front of the hand, and I kind of feel that you're sitting a bit close to the fingerboard. So again, I'd like that a little bit more relaxed. Well, if you look at my hand there, I felt that you were just cramping in a little bit, yeah. Yeah, it's a little more gentle, isn't it? Yeah. The other thing I noticed a little bit was when you came to an open string, you almost accentuated that a little bit, almost like it was like a landmark. You have to be very careful with scales, especially something like a chromatic scale. The idea is for everything to be kind of even and uniform. So if you're making this. There's nothing so special about the open string. So essentially, if they could sound like more fretted notes, maybe not let them ring. That last one I did just rang a little bit. So you're trying to keep them very even. So it's the control of the open string against the control of the stopped string, the fretted string. It's good. Now, of course, as we increase the tempo, keep that sort of idea of uniformity, the fingers need to be very close together. So they're not coming from very far away, they're very close. They're really side by side, okay? And they keep that idea of control. If they're coming from far away, or there's any stress, it's going to interrupt the flow a little bit. Well, have a go. Let me just go. So it's great big sound. You're playing apoiando, which which is good. So you're playing restaurant loading. Can you try it Tarando? Just a little free. I mean, it's very good that you're doing it so controlled a piano, but of course, the difference between the two is incredibly important because we don't always play everything a piano. Maybe today, a lot of guitar players don't use so much a piano. They use a lot more free stroke, a lot more Tarando. I think a piano still is a fantastic tool for the guitar. It gives such strength and such power. And even not just those things. I think it's a little basic to think that a piano only delivers power. It delivers a roundness of sound. It delivers a quality of tone that's very good for shaping a melody. So it's great that you use it as a sort of default a piano. But try Tarando, because Tarando can give you a lightness of touch and a sort of delicacy that can be really nice for fast passages as well, you know. Maybe try it just Tarando for me. It's really good. The only thing I'm watching a little bit, and it's a little bit like we discussed yesterday in the back, when you come to use finger 4, or anything on this side of the hand, I'm being very critical, but in a nice way, right? There's a little gap. It's like, it's just a millisecond. And also, it's a little flappy when it comes down. If it comes across more, right there, and with power, not an accent, but just that you're really strong. Sometimes I worry that it just, as your hand goes towards index, it starts to peel away, and then it's needed to come all the way over to the 4th fret, and it's a distance again. You don't feel it so much as you ascend, you know. Your ascending scale is really even, but as it descends, I can just hear that slight delay, you know. I'm going to talk in a minute about descending scales. Descending scales are the slowest for guitarists, and they're such an easy thing to hear. We're great at going up the way. We're great at going. We love ascending, getting higher. It's dropping down towards the floor like gravity. Descending is really hard. You're coming back up, and you're trying to recalibrate all the fingers in the opposite direction. I practice lots of descending scales to really get that to work. You know, try your G chromatic. I'm just maestro, you know. I'll come to you in a minute. I'm going to give you something really hard later on. Nice, G sharp. Okay, so I mean, it's good. The thing that is a little bit similar to what we were saying about 4 before is, as you get higher, your 4th finger gets higher also, you know. So I would like you to keep it really close in. So it's much closer to the guitar. I think it's just going to be easier for you to get it to work quicker, you know. Just try it one more time, just. Yeah, so imagine if I had like a little wall, right, that I built here. It's like a nail file wall, right? There. And then it can't go any higher. It has to stay there, yeah? So you have to make this idea in your head that I can't just release the 4th finger to space. I've got to keep it close to the guitar. So I'm going to need it very soon, you know, in a piece, you know. Watch this index finger could just be a little bit further back, yeah, just to get a stronger sound, yeah. Good. And especially when you lift off, it comes off quite fast. You know, guitar players, I think this is an important thing, guitar players are very good at putting a finger on the string, at playing a note. Fantastic. We're great at going, okay, I'm playing all these notes. I'm playing my guitar, playing all these notes. And then when we lift off, we just go, oh, okay, I'll just take the finger off. You know, it's like, I'll just lift it off. Remember yesterday in the back, it was, we could hear notes from the Barry that we didn't need. We needed to be really careful about how we lifted off rather than we have another sound. So quite often guitar players, they activate open strings by just lifting carelessly off the guitar, or if they have something that they're holding a shape and they lift one finger off, it's almost like a pull-off that they generate, even though they don't mean to do it. So as guitar players, we're always very good at placing a note and playing a note, but we're not so good at lifting the fingers off. So in all these scales, especially chromatic scales, I think about how I release my finger. So look at the fingers leaving the string. And I feel as careful about how they leave the string as I am about how I put it down. So this doesn't happen away into space. This is really bad. This happens. So it's a release mechanism. Now, on a really super technical level, if this is a string, right, there, so say I use the bass string, like that, right, and it's playing. If I release the pressure and just lift my finger off, this happens. The low E is sounded, right? So the string is vibrating, my first finger is pushing energy into the string. If I release, I have the pitch of the open string generated, it's activated. If I release the pressure of the string on the fingerboard, but I do not take my finger off the string, this happens. Okay, so just quiet for a second. Stringing on, and then I have not released my finger. Now I can release my finger silently. Okay, so the string is vibrating, for vibrato and things. I release the pressure, the note stops, and then I release the finger. Now that is on a hugely microscopic level. Imagine you're playing something super fast. How do you do that? Well, you actually can. I'm sort of doing it there to make a staccato. So it can be a musical decision like making a staccato, but it's also got to be something that you're capable of doing when you're playing legato, when you're playing all the time. Now, of course, on a very microscopic level, yes. Off and left. I don't want you to necessarily think, do I have to do this to every single note I use when I play the guitar? That's insane, okay? You would never play a note. But you have to be careful about how you can lift off. Especially in these fugues, like, you know what I mean. Or like you yesterday. It's that these pieces, we really need this control to make sure all these voices can be heard and can be controlled. Back to that polyphonic way of thinking about all these different ideas. So yeah, we don't want this. A pulley off technique, a technique where we don't think about the end of the note, we think about the beginning and the end of the note. We think about placing the finger and releasing the finger. So the technique can be as clean as possible. Okay? So I think the chromatic scale, it doesn't have to be G, it could be any chromatic scale, but it's a very good way of, is there any weakness in my finger?